Shalom, everyone. We're going to get started in Parashat Devarim today. If you would like to raise your hand or annotate, here's how you do it. This is going to be the book of Deuteronomy. This is the monologue, essentially monologue or speech that Moses gives to the children of Israel before they cross over into the land under the leadership of Joshua. Who'd like to get us started? Amanda, would you like to read?
Yes, please. Ele hadvarim asher diver Moshe el kol Yisrael be'ever hayarden bamidbar ba'arava mol suf ben Haran uvein Hofel velavan
Sorry, that's me. Go ahead.
zerot vedi zahav.
Excellent. Very good. El hadvarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael be'ever hayarden bamidbar ba'arava mol suf ben paran uven tofel velavan v'chatzerot v'dizahav. Is there another? No, that's pretty good. Okay, there's a lot to talk about in this single verse. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I do want to cover everything. Dvarim are not just words. They could be matters, issues, something that is discussed. These are the things, the words, the matters that Moshe spoke. Diber. It's a PL verb. We can tell how that this is a PL verb.
I guess.
Okay, the diagnostics you're looking for are a chirik and a dagesh in the katal form, or a patach and a dagesh in the yiktol form. But yeah, that dagesh is what you're looking for. Sometimes you won't get it. Suppose it's a guttural, you won't get a dagesh. El kol Yisrael, to all of Israel, be'ever hayarden. Ever is crossing over. So on the crossed side, that is on the other side of the Jordan. This side of the Jordan? No, but Ever Hayarden is that side of the Jordan. So somebody within the land of Israel is probably compiling the text that will ultimately become the Tanakh, and he's telling us where Moses spoke these words. It was on the other side of the Jordan, and you can see the translator here wanted to kind of polish out that inconsistency, if I can call it. And then Hayarden, you see that Hayarden has a patach, but in English it has an O. So one theory says that, and I believe we talked about this when we were talking about the name of the Nile in the Bible, Ha-Yor, like this. Ha, of course, is just the definite article, but Yor is apparently the Egyptian name for a river. So the theory goes that Yor becomes Yor, and then Dan is the river that comes from Dan. And then in Hebrew, it becomes Yarden instead of Yorden for some reason. And it's an interesting theory. I kind of like it. Bamidbar ba'arava. This, of course, is where we get the word Arab or Arab or Araba or what having to do with the wilderness. Molsuf. Now, the Yam Suf is where the crossing took place in Exodus. So what are they talking about here? Suf. Well, by the time somebody was writing all of this or compiling all of this content, they're probably referring to the suf, the end, the edge of the boundary of Israel, which is at the bottom. Maybe. So Yam Suf, all the way at the bottom of Israel. And then we have a bunch of other locations here listed out so that in the future we won't be confused exactly where Moses was giving his speech. Ben Paran uven Tofel, between Paran and Tofel, velavan v'chatzerot v'dizahav. What is dizahav? What does it mean?
Gold.
Zahav is
Zahav.
gold. Zahav is gold. And then D might come from something we can see in Aramaic. It might be related to what becomes ze in Hebrew. It's essentially a relative particle. So that is the gold, or some people would argue that it maybe is related to day or day or dai zahav, like enough gold, but I think it's probably related to the Aramaic dalit, which is the relative particle, which in Hebrew ultimately becomes a share or she. So where the gold is, something like that. Wouldn't you all like to know where that location is? Okay, any questions on this before Eileen reads the next verse? All right, Eileen, all yours.
Okay. Ahead there.
Achad.
Yeah. Achad. Ayesher.
I know the ayin looks like a Y, but it has nothing to do with Y. Asar. Asar.
Asar.
Mhm.
Yom. Mehoreb. Da. Da. Dachad.
Yes,
Derek.
that's it. That's it.
Derek. Har. Seri.
Seir.
Ear. Seir. Seir. At. Dal.
Ad Kadesh.
At Kadesh. Ber. Beria.
Here, split it right there. Bar.
Bar.
Ne. Nea.
Nar.
Barnea.
Banar.
So this patach at the end is pronounced before the ayin. Nea. Nea. But in modern pronunciation, it's like just sticking an ah sound at the end of the word. Barnea.
Barnea.
And hear that. There we go. Very good. Have you been practicing what we talked about last week?
Well, I've been practicing more with Chabad.org.
Okay, excellent.
My
listening to the audio
this week.
Is it?
Yeah, the audio chanting. Yep.
Okay, nice. Well done. Achad asar yom mechorev derech har seir ad kadesh barnea. Okay, so verse 2 is continuing what was started in verse 1, helping us to locate exactly where this speech took place, how many days journey it is from here if you're going the direction of that over there. And there's a lot of fun trying to plot this stuff out. An argument could be made about how the topography and land of the Bible is the least discussed character of the biblical text and should probably be given a lot more study and thought than it is.
Okay, so we're waiting for your dissertation.
Oh, I
Not
had a
my,
question. Why
not,
is it
not
by
from me.
the
Go
way?
ahead.
Why is it by the way? I don't see a preposition. This is derech. Derech. Derech.
Uh-huh.
Why is it by? Why did they say by the
Right.
way?
Okay, that's a great
I'm
question. So
sorry.
no,
It's
don't
just
please don't be.
it's minor, but it
No,
confused
it's
me.
actually not. It's a great question. So there are, I guess, why it's like that is one question. The fact that it is like that is just me saying, yeah, this shows up a lot in the Bible. Am I able to
Okay.
tell you why it does that? I don't know, maybe not. The point is that there are
Okay.
plenty of examples where a noun is stuck awkwardly somewhere in the sentence. Usually, when it's stuck awkwardly somewhere in the sentence, it's being used adverbially. Now, what is an adverb? It answers questions like how, when, where, why, to what extent. And in English, they usually end in ly, happily, quickly, indisputably, something like that. Well, I guess Hebrew didn't really have a systemized way of representing adverbs yet, so it just kind of stuck the noun in there, and you're supposed to understand it adverbially. Why they did that, I would just venture a guess and say they didn't have a systemized um, way of representing adverbs yet. But over time, we see about four different kinds of, I guess, four different ways of producing adverbial clauses or information. And yeah, I wouldn't really call that systematized because there are four different ways. It tells me that it was kind of an organic discovery process instead of, somebody standardizing the way Hebrew was going to be spoken. Okay, so what we're looking for is nouns placed awkwardly in the sentence. It's probably adverbial.
Okay.
Can I,
Thank
can I
you.
ask you,
Thank you.
Yeah.
can I ask you about that? Would it be, would it, would the bet not be there because there's a vet at the at the end of the previous word? Like,
That is a very good question. That's a very good question as well. It is entirely possible that whoever was writing the text of the Bible decided not to write the same letter twice in order to save on ink, paper, hiring a scribe, whatever. Keep it short. It's okay. We'll figure it out. But I would probably tend to say no. There are just the Bible is replete with examples of nouns placed awkwardly somewhere in an adverbial way without necessarily the previous word having ending in a bet. So while it is possible, and that's a great question, it's a great hypothesis, it doesn't necessarily have to be true. There's just too much evidence elsewhere that awkward nouns are adverbs. I like that though. I like the way your eyes are looking and the way you're thinking. That's excellent. Okay, next reader.
So I was going to say, Jared, so that phrase is used over and over and over in the Hebrew Bible.
Which one?
By the way, how they got from one place to another.
Okay.
So would it be that same word every time?
That's a good question. I don't think I know that off the top of my head, but it would be a good word study. Try to find everywhere in the Hebrew where it says they're going by the way of, and see what it is.
They
But
always do.
I would, I mean,
Abraham,
if somebody pressed me for a guess, I would say, yeah, you're probably right. But I would also expect like putting a bet at the front, which is what Amanda suggested, bederech, on the way of, and it would still pretty much be an adverbial phrase. You just have the inclusion of that preposition bet.
they were just kind of like nomads until, until for so long.
There's a certain beauty to the simplicity of a nomadic lifestyle. Cheryl, would you like to read?
Sure. ויהי בארבעים שנה באשתי עשר חודש, באחד לחודש, דיבר משה אל בני ישראל ככל אשר ציווה אדוני אותו עליהם.
Unto
עליהם.
Alehem. Very good. Vayhi be'arba'im shana be'ashteasar chodesh be'echad lachodesh diber Moshe el bnei Yisrael kechol asher tziva Adonai oto alehem. All right, as I'm reading through this, there's a couple of really cool things here. That's one of them. Even this right here is one of them. Let's start with that. Okay. Ooh, we can even talk about, I think I might have talked about this before, but whatever. I repeat myself a lot, so forgive me. And it was in the 40 Shana, year, singular. As long as the number is greater than 10, Hebrew doesn't mind putting a singular noun, even though it's plural. And so I would read this more like in 40 years, because that's not the number 40th per se. Arba'im. I don't know if you can turn it into an ordinal number. Huh. How can you say 40th in Hebrew? There's Rishon, Sheni, Shlishi, Revi'i, Asiri. Yeah, once you get to 20, it's just the number 20. Okay, maybe not. So 40 years or the 40th year, either way, means the same thing. And then is this the usual way of saying 11?
11 is not that. Isn't it?
It's not that. Exactly. So we can see that the usual number 1 is right here. But this right here is the word used when representing 11 and is in fact the number 1 in Akkadian. Now, how is it that we have 2 different words for the number 1 in a single verse? Well, I've actually already given you the answer. The fact that somebody later on was compiling the books of the Torah, and they're taking all of the verbiage that Moses had spoken and put it into a single place and slapped the name Devarim on it, or Deuteronomy. And so over here, we get to see an older form of the word for 1. And it only shows up a handful of times in the Bible. If I remember correctly, it's only like, I don't know, 3 times or something that shows up in the Bible like this, the number 11. But it shows up all the time in Akkadian. And then Echad is from the normal way to say 1 in Aramaic, Had. And then Hebrew, of course, makes it Echad. Something similar could be said about the word Chodesh. According to we'll call them ostraca, pot shards on which some text is written, call them, I guess they're technically not inscriptions, but one of them is the Gezer tablet, where they're writing out the months of the year and what is done during those months. It does not use the word Chodesh. What do you suppose it uses? What's an older word that means month? It's the name of the moon, Yareach. So apparently older Hebrew called the months Yareach, and then at some point somebody switched gears. Now there's a theory behind this. Maybe it's a good one, maybe it's not, but there were calendar wars throughout the I guess all the way back to the Hellenistic period. There were calendar wars, which, no, this is the correct calendar. No, this one is. And everybody's got their own calendar. And it's probably during that time where Chodesh is no longer linked directly to the moon. So rather than calling it a Yareach, it's just called a new or renewed period of time, a Chodesh. Remember, the root Chadash means new or renewed. Now, today in modern Hebrew, a month is called a Chodesh. but it still begs the question, why did we go from Yareach to Chodesh to begin with? And that's one theory. So this might also be tending towards a later interpretation instead of an earlier one. Who knows? It's a lot of speculation. Diber Moshe, Moses spoke, El Bnei Yisrael, to the children of Israel, Kachol Asher, according to all that Tziva Adonai. What binyan is this?
Yo.
For the same reason, right? There's your dagesh, there's your chirik. Those are the two things we're looking for. Tziva, he commanded or had commanded. Adonai, the Lord did. Oto, Moses, him, alehem, upon them. Or to them. All right, questions? All right, only one person has her hand up, so Amanda gets the next reading. Go ahead. If anyone else wants to read, you'll have to put your hands up.
Achre hakoto et Sihon melech haemori asher yoshev beheshbon ve'et Og melech habashan asher yoshev Ba'astarot Ba'edre Ba'ed Edrei Edrei
Split it up.
Be'edrei.
And then there's your stress marker right there. Be'edrei.
Be'edrei. Okay, thank you.
Which apparently, maybe that's just the pausal form. I'm not sure. We'd have to look and see that word somewhere else where it doesn't in the sentence to see if it's spelled differently. Only this little detail you missed. What's this word?
Be'eshtarot. Be'eshtarot.
Wait, what's that?
Be'ashtoret. Be'ashtorot. Tarot. Oh my gosh.
What's happening to me? Okay, Ba'ashtarot.
Ba'ashtarot.
Very good. Acharei hakoto et Sichon melech haemori asher yoshev becheshbon ve'et Og melech habashan asher yoshev ba'ashtarot be'edrei. Does anybody recognize the root of this king's name? Tell you what, does anybody know the word glida?
Ice cream.
Okay, what does glida go on?
Uga.
Uga.
Cake? Uga?
Okay, so these two words, uga and og, do come from the same root. They don't mean the same thing exactly. The word og is essentially a round thing. Maybe like a round loaf of either bread or sweet bread or whatever. But ultimately, that's where modern Hebrew gets the word uga, a round cake. Now, I want to know, what shape was this king for him to have the name Og? If we continue reading about this king, he had a gargantuan bed.
Big boy.
It's possible that this guy was bigger than the Kool-Aid man.
And didn't the knife get lost in the belly fat that he had?
That was a different king.
Oh, that was a different king. Okay.
That was, his name starts with E. What's the warrior who killed him? No, Doeg. Was it Doeg? Or
No.
Doeg. I forget no, it starts with an E. Anyway, one of the that was a different king. And I can't
Okay.
remember which one it was, but this one is one who was slain before Israel came into the land. And later on, the dimensions of his bed are given in Deuteronomy, even though the bed is stored in the land of Israel now. You see the problem, right? Clearly, somebody later on was compiling the words of Deuteronomy, and they're talking about the size of this bed that is now in the land of Israel that Moses did not know at the time, unless God gave it to him in a prophecy. Some Orthodox will tend that direction when you have information from a later times, like, well, God must have given it to him in a prophecy. I'm like, well, can't really falsify that.
You're like, who
There's
lie?
there's a psalm where it talks about the fattened bulls of Bashan. So I don't know if that's like a theme for Bashan.
I'm not sure, but that's good. Thank you. What else can we? Oh, what is this word here? Hakoto. Tell me about it. Tell me all the information you can about this word. Like its root, its form, the things that comprise it.
It's third masculine. It's third person.
What is?
Hakoto.
No, I okay.
Oh.
Do you, I don't want to give you the answer, so I'm asking you for your. I want you to qualify your answer. What's third person? What about this word is third person?
The Holam at the
Good.
end.
That's what I'm looking for. Yes, absolutely. Your answer could have been taken a different way. Like, for example, when we had Tziva, Adonai Moshe, the Lord commanded, that's also a 3ms, right? Except it's a verb. It's the built-in subject, whereas here it's a pronominal suffix. So 3ms is the correct answer, but I'm just asking what specifically. Like, for example, if we had a 3ms verb that also had a 3ms pronominal suffix, I'd ask the same question. What's 3ms? Well, this and that. Ah, yes. All right. Well, so that's a 3ms pronominal suffix. What's the first part?
Lahakot is to strike, isn't it?
Very good.
Lahakot.
Lehakot with the le in the front. And essentially what you did is you took this part and added le because that's what we do in modern Hebrew. Le tells us that we're talking about a verb in the infinitive, to do something.
Absolute.
San lamed, it's identical. Good.
Yeah.
So it means to strike. And so that means this is an infinitive construct.
Struck.
Construct.
All right. And also, how do I want to word this? Infinitive constructs are technically nominal or nouns that express an action. So the noun of slaying is hakot. Well, look at this word achare. That's a preposition. Remember, a preposition is what a rabbit can do to a box. After requires a noun after it. So that means this has to be a noun, and infinitive constructs are nouns. If I'm marching after him, if I'm going after her, the point is that after requires a noun. There's your noun, infinitive construct. Conversely, infinitive constructs are nouns. They're nominal verbs. Anyway, what's the root of this?
Naka.
Very good. Nun, kaf, yod. The nun is missing in the strong dagesh, and the yod is a weak letter that rarely graces us with its presence, and kaf is stuck in the middle holding that dagesh. What binyan, what kind of a verb is lehakot or hakot?
You feel?
He-feel, what does that mean? What are he-feel verbs? What do they typically connote?
Active and causative.
Active, meaning the subject is doing the action, and causative, meaning the subject is causing someone else to do something. How exactly lehakot is causative, I can't answer because this root is not used in the Kal simple verb binyan. So not really sure. And let's see. Yoshev. And this one right here, what kind of a word is this? Parse it out. Give me the information like you did for Hakoto.
Oh,
Kal,
participle,
participle.
singular, verb.
A participle is actually an adjective, so I'm going to accept participle but not verb. It is masculine singular. I just blew some of your minds, right? I was trying to demonstrate how this is actually a noun, even though it's an infinitive. And now I'm demonstrating that this is a participle, which is an adjective, not a verb. In modern Hebrew, it's treated like the present tense. There are multiple usages of an adjective so that it can seem like a verb. I am sitting. Sitting is a verb. No, am is the verb. Sitting is describing me. It's an adjective. And you can also use it substantively, which means it acts like a noun. The dwelling one lives in the land. It's an adjective that can act like a noun. So it's a real chameleon, but by definition, it's an adjective. That's why it has only 4 forms: masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, feminine plural, just like adjectives do. You said kal, participle, ms. I guess that's everything, right? Oh, the root.
Yesha.
Yod, shin, bet. And this yod used to be a historical vav. How do I know that? How do I know that this used to be a vav? And no, it's not that O right there. Because of other words that have this root where the vav shows up. Can anyone think of one? What's a seat or a settlement?
Moshav.
Moshav. So in other words, the vav is preserved, but when it comes at the beginning of a word, it changes to yod. Here it reverts or remains the same if it's not at the beginning of the word. Okay, I think that's everything. Who wants to read next?
Can I just I'm having a problem with after he had slain. So
Mhm.
I get the PMS and I understand the noun following after, but I would see wrongly, I would see that the vav is the noun and then what precedes it as the verb.
Use the
The
translation. Use the
action of the noun.
translation as a guide. Don't use it as the answer sheet. This is leading you into an incorrect interpretation. Literally, this should be after his action of slaying. Slaying whom? Et Sichon. So this right here is technically a prepositional phrase after his noun, after his action of slaying whom? Et Sichon, Melech HaEmori. So this is just a restatement. Et is the direct object marker, the direct object of this action, which is presented here as a noun. Does that help clarify anything?
Yeah, it's going to have to sink in because I had a problem earlier today with wisdom being a verb. So it falls under the same classification to me. It's just going to have to sink in.
When is wisdom a verb?
We were looking at Proverbs, and there was 3 forms of wisdom stated in verb form, and it was anyway. I don't want to get sidetracked, but
Well, okay. Remember now I'm interested. I want to know. If you can find it, just let me know after the next person's done reading. Find out what verse it is. And yeah, so because this translates literally to a very awkward translation after his slaying of Sichon, a lot of translators will turn it into an active verb. After he had slain, no, I'm sorry, that's not a katal verb. It's an infinitive.
Interesting.
I have the Proverbs verse whenever you get to
What
it.
Proverbs verse is it?
1433.
Yeah.
And the question was, is the heart or is wisdom will be known? It's the question. Is
English says wisdom rests in the heart of the intelligent, but among fools it is revealed. Belev navon. Someone else should read this, shouldn't they? Tim, do you want to read?
that? Oh, wait a minute. Is that right?
I don't know.
No, you've got it. No, you've got it. And
Okay.
Navon is the word, I believe.
All right, Tim, you want to read it?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's your question. Belev navon.
So, I mean, we can stop with those two words. So, what's the first? The first verb was the second. Nevo.
I would prefer to read through the whole thing. If you don't want to, I will. Belev
Yeah, go ahead.
navon tanuach chochma uvekerev ksilim tivadea. All right. So the first two words, belev navon, is let's see, this is a prepositional phrase, and lev and navon appear to be a construct. The heart of the understanding one. In the heart of the understanding one, tanuach, there's your verb, with a yiktol prefix. She will rest. Who will? Chochma. There's your subject. A noun. Uvekerev kesilim. Now this is another prepositional phrase. And in the midst of fools, there's your construct again. Tivadea. And this is also a verb. Yiktol tav. She will be known. The fact that we have a chirik, dagesh, and kamatz tells us this is a yiktol nifal, which is passive or reflexive or reciprocal. Here it's probably passive from the root vav dalet ayin. What? Vav dalet ayin? Which we know better as yod dalet ayin. But there's that yod reverting back to its original vav if it's not at the beginning of the verb. She will be known. So chochma here is the subject, both of this verb and that verb. What was the question then?
No, you answered it. You answered it. I just didn't see
All right.
I just didn't see the connection.
All right, cool. Thank you.
I got one.
Yeah. What's the question?
And the question is, okay, when do you pause?
When do you
When you read.
pause?
Yeah, when?
According to the Masoretic scribes, there are certain symbols to look for that tell you when to pause and how much to pause. This one is one of the most important ones you need to know. It's usually a wishbone shape because it's the logical halfway point of the verse. But there are other symbols that tell you to pause as well, just maybe not as much. So this one right here is a little pause. This one right here is a little pause. That's not a pause. That's not a pause. And this one right here is the biggest pause of all because it's the end of the verse. Now, tragically, I say tragically, that's not a good word to use. Disappointingly, there are at least 26, possibly more, cantillation marks. So you have to get to know each and every one of them, just like you had to get to know all the letters of the alphabet. They all have something a little bit different to bring to the syntax of the verse. So
yeah,
you have
we learned that in C, but I
Yeah.
was going through my book and I can't find it. You know?
Yeah, it's a myth. I don't know. I really wish my students to be familiar with those symbols all the way in level A, because answers the age-old question, how do I know where the stress of a word goes? Well, if we just have a cursory introduction on this topic, the question's answered.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the same advice that I give all my other students. Get to know the most important ones first. And then as you get good with them, you can learn some others. So first things first is the end of the verse, which is this. We already looked at that. Next, learn the wishbone, the halfway point of the verse. And then from there, you might want to learn the one that has 2 dots on top called Zakef Katon or Rivia, like this one right here. Those are good for now. And the order I just presented those in is most pause to less pause. In English,
Thank you.
we have commas and question marks and periods and so on. Well, they tell you key places to pause, whereas the cantillation mark system has a cantillation mark on every word, and each one means that, how do I say this? There are 5 different categories of these 26 to 30 cantillation marks, and each one of those categories says pause less or more. The first category has the 2 most important ones. The next one is the next few, blah, blah, blah. It's a fascinating study, and there are times apparently where the Masoretic scribes got it wrong, but we're still very, very grateful for all the work they put into this. It allows us to read the text, know where the stress is, know where to pause. And all right, who's the next reader? Short little itty bitty verse. Aaron, is this too short? You want to take this one?
I can do this.
All right, go ahead.
Bever Hayardan, Ba'eretz Moav Ho'il, Moshe Ba'er Et HaTorah Hazot Lemor.
Excellent. Be'ever hayarden, be'eretz Moav, ho'il Moshe, be'er et haTorah hazot lemor. All right, so we've already talked about Be'ever hayarden on the other, or what they say, this side of the Jordan. Be'eretz Moav. Where is Moab located relative to modern state of Israel?
Jordan.
Right, modern state of Jordan, and relative to the Dead Sea, north, south, south of it.
West.
East.
Is it the
Oh, boy.
area
East,
east
yeah,
of the Dead Sea? And if you get too far down south, that's going to be what territory?
Arabia, say
Edom.
Edom. And if you go north of Moab,
Ammon.
Ammon. Good. And if you go north a little bit more,
Syria.
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Also Gilead, that would, if you ever hear the term Gilead, it's referring to that area over there. Yeah, good. Okay. And then Ho'il. What's the root of this word? Parse it. Give me some information about Ho'il.
I see that a lot with ho'il ve, like together, and I've never quite understood
Okay.
what it means.
It has a hey at the front, and it has a chirik yod. What binyan is it?
It's Hufal.
It's a hifil.
Oh, Hufal.
Remember, hufal doesn't have the chirik yod. So it is a hifil, but this is kind of weird that we're getting a cholam vav instead of the usual
Yod.
patach. You should get
patach.
excuse me. Right. So excuse me. If we're looking at katal form, we should get a chirik. And if we're looking at a yiktol form, we should expect a patach with a yiktol prefix. Here, there's no yiktol prefix. It's probably a katal. But anyway, there's actually something to be said about the chirik of hifil. It's not original. The patach is. So at some point, the hifil changed from hafil into hifil. Okay. So, that kind of stinks, but that's apparently what happened. If we take a vav as a first root letter and stick it in here, that leaves us with a how, hey, patach, vav. Remember, vav was an original W sound. How. Well, it's that how that ultimately becomes ho. It's easier to pronounce. So instead of ha'il, it just becomes ho'il. That tells us that vav is the first root letter, and it's now showing up as a mater lectionis, a vowel. So what's the second root letter?
Ayin.
Oh, that's not a 9.
I mean, Aleph.
Other
Sorry.
one, yeah. The glottal stop, aleph, and third root letter is lamed. If we were going to look this up in a dictionary, we would probably have to look up Yod Aleph Lamed, like in the BDB, the Brown Driver Briggs dictionary. You'd probably have to look up this root and then scooch on down to where it says hifil, and then you'll see everything about this verb in the hifil, ho'il, etc. What about this one? What can you tell me about that verb?
To elucidate, to make clear.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that a well or pit?
Very good. So be'er, like this, is a well. Be'er is not a noun, it's a verb. So we've got the root, bet aleph resh. What binyan is it? What form is it? What person, gender, number?
Is it infinitive construct?
That's what I would expect, but it just doesn't fit the bill. If it
Is
were
it a PL and the Aleph is a guttural, so it lengthens.
That's what it
changes the
looks like. That's what it looks like to me. Like if we look at a similar verb like berech, where the resh won't take a dagesh, and so it lengthens the preceding chirik to a tzere. Berech means he blessed. Be'er, also with a guttural, it looks like a katal 3ms PL. I would not have expected that. Because we have a finite verb over here, you would expect an infinitive right there. But we've got a pretty strong disjuncting pause right there. So I suppose we're supposed to read it as Moshe began. He expounded the Torah, this one, to say or saying. Doesn't really sound good in English, and you can see that the translator fixed it for us, but it doesn't look like an infinitive. If it were an infinitive, what would it look like? Right. So we would expect it to have a patach there, a dagesh in the aleph, and a tzere there. Well, we can't have the dagesh, so instead it becomes kamatz tzere, ba'er, or levaer. But that's not a kamatz. Okay, so be it. It's old Hebrew, it's things happen in older Hebrew.
What is the connection to well then?
Yeah, so you know what? I would wonder if a well, just as you're able to draw nourishing, life-supporting water from a well, so also Moshe is doing the same action from the first form of the commandments that he received from God. I mean, it's a little preachy, it's a little midrashic, but if I had to guess, that's what it would be. Now, the best thing to do would be to look up be'er in a dictionary, see how it's used in other places in the Bible, and see if the author of the dictionary relates it to the word be'er for a well of water. So a little homework if somebody wants to undertake it.
Right.
All right, who's my next reader? All right, Amanda, go ahead, and then Jesse, you get the next one.
Adonai Eloheinu diber elenu bechorev lemor rav lachem shevet bahar hazeh.
Excellent. Adonai Eloheinu diber elenu b'chorev lemor rav lachem shevet bahar hazeh. I don't really know what to talk about here except for shevet. Everything else looks pretty clear. Just by show of hands, how many people understood everything in this verse from the Hebrew? Oh, all right.
Rav long enough versus great or many.
Yeah, so Rav is abundant, has to do with abundance. So when he says Rav lechem, it's like it is plenty, it's enough, it's abundant for you all. What is shevet, the noun, the action of sitting or dwelling? Where? Bahar hazeh. So this is a good translation, but just remember Rav comes from abundance, as opposed to great, which is gadol. The word long, what's the root for the word long? Aroch, erech. So yeah, Rav lechem. This is the same formula that we hear, Rav lechem, when, what was it? Dotan and Aviram, the sons of Korach, right? When during Korach's rebellion, Korach is like, Moses, Rav lecha, it's too much. Is it too much that you're getting all the attention, but we're all holy? And then Moses replies in kind and says, Rav lechem, that you already have the Levitical priesthood and now you want more. So Rav lechem, when I hear it, it's kind of like a pejorative. It's like, what? Seriously? Enough. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So now this is the Lord telling the people, hey, time's up, buddies. It's time to move on. That's kind of what I hear. Rav lechem.
Maybe we'll find it when the prophet Nathan spoke to King David. If I made you this, I made you that. If it wasn't enough, I would have given you more, when he took Bathsheba, when he was rebuking him.
Familiar
I
with
don't know
the
if it's
text.
there.
I don't remember the Hebrew though. It's probably not going to be Rav lecha. But yeah, definitely having to do with more if it weren't enough for you. Maybe im lo dai lecha, like if it wasn't enough. I don't know. I'd have to check. Oh, sorry about that. I've got the picture all wackadoodle. There we go. That should be better. Okay. What is shevet? What kind of a word is shevet?
It's called.
That's a dwell,
Mm-hmm.
Is it a noun?
but
It's an infinitive. It's an infinitive construct. So it is a verbal noun.
Yeah.
It is a noun. It's a verbal noun.
It's a verbal.
Lashevet would be maybe the modern Hebrew way of saying it. To sit or to dwell. Okay, Jesse, you're up next. And if anyone else wants to read, all you have to do is put up your hands.
Penu us u lachem uvo har ha emori ve'el kol shechenav ba'arava bahar uvashpela uvanegev uvchof hayam eretz haknaani והלבנון עד הנהר הגדול נחר פירת.
Right. Very good. Pnu us'u lachem uvo'u har ha'emori ve'el kol shchenav ba'arava v'har uvashfela uvanegev uvchof hayam eretz haknaani v'halevanon ad hanahar hagadol nahar prat.
But what is the Segol doing above? Is that a Segol or is that a cantillation mark above the, yeah. What's the
Cantillation.
Okay, so yes and yes. This is a cantillation mark called segol. It is not the segol that we know, like this one up here, which is underneath the text. It's the cantillation mark called segol. And yeah, it's a cantillation mark, and it's one of those pesky ones that doesn't land on the accented syllable. It always lands at the end of the word.
Yeah, that's why I was a little confused with that.
So does this one here. So does that one there. Are there any others? No, I think all the other ones land on the accented syllable. Yeah. What about this one? Is that an accent symbol? It's a trick question because kind of yes sometimes and kind of no sometimes. This is called a meteg, metheg. I guess you'll see it like this. And it's supposed to, I don't know, it has 4 or 5 different jobs. Here it's simply pointing out where the secondary stress of the word is. So we should say ha kana ani. Primary stress is over there, but secondary is over there. Ha kana ani. And it can do other jobs too, like breaking where a syllable is or telling you if this is a short vowel instead of a long or vice versa. And I'm still not 100% clear on all the jobs that Meteg can do. Okay, where is Hanahar Hagadol? Nahar Prat. Where do we get Euphrates from the word Prat, or vice versa, Prat from the word Euphrates? P-R-T. P-R-T. It's right there. It's just the Greek form of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is, not to be confused with it, but there is another Prat called Nahal Prat. And this is a stream that runs in the Judean desert from a spring, and it is an absolute oasis. It's beautiful. If you ever get to go there, do it. But this was the stream that the British were using for a water supply before they were bringing water in from the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee. The piping is still, the iron piping is still there that pulls it all the way from Nahal Prat up to Jerusalem. But it's not used anymore. Okay, where is the Shfela? What is Shafal? Shafal is to be low, the lowlands, the hill country that falls down from the mountains as you go westward towards the sea. That's
Valley.
the Shfela. They call it valley. I'm not sure if I would call it valley. And
Lowland.
it's the lowland, yeah. Yeah. And then Negev is probably going to be around Beersheba, not necessarily all the way down in the desert that we would call the Negev today. What's the root of Usa'u?
Nasa,
Nasa, very good, which means?
to travel.
Excellent. What is this one?
To you.
To carry.
Nasa. It sounds the same, but Nasa is to bear, lift, or carry. And Nasa is to journey. Both of them lose the noon in their yiktol forms and in the imperative, because noon is a weak letter. What's the root of pnu?
Hana.
Pei, noon, yod. The yod is a weak letter too that goes missing. Pnu. What kind of a word is pnu or sa'u or vo'u?
It's cal verb, imperative, masculine plural.
They're all kal imperatives, masculine plural. Do it. Do this. Do that. Do this. What's the root of uvo'u?
Bo.
Bo. So it has a weak letter too, a vav. So we've already seen 3 huge categories of weak roots. Noon at the front, yod at the end, or a vav, sometimes yod in the middle. All 3 of those kinds of verbs will have letters that go missing. Good. Comments, questions?
There's a lot of pauses there. A lot of,
There's the halfway mark.
yeah,
There's the segol.
that's a
There's
good
a VE. This is not a pause. It's just that the English translation was so big that it leaves a big gap. So neither of those is really a pause.
Yeah,
I guess there's a slight pause right there, but where's the other ones? Vaha and Mori. There's a slight pause there. Shvela uva negev. Tipacha is a pause. Oh, there's a zakef katon. There's another tipacha, and there's your sof pasuk, end of verse. So yeah, those are the ones that are going to see pauses.
Okay.
Okay, who's the next reader? Did I say it was Jesse? Did you just read the last one?
I just read this.
Okay. All right. I see no other hands. Amanda, you're up.
Okay. Re'a natati
Wait.
lif re oh re
Re'e.
re'e
Re'e. That's good. Keep going.
re'e natati lifnechem et haaretz bovu urshu et haaretz asher nishba Adonai la'avotechem le'avraham litzchak ul Yaakov latet lahem uzaream acharechem.
Good. All right. So there are a couple of things that I want to just want to nitpick about. Forgive me. When the word for and shows up in front of a shva, the shva is going to be audible.
Okay.
And why? I mean, let's just go with our usual rule that if there's a preceding long vowel, it's going to be its own syllable. Here, that's actually what the meteg is telling us. This is its own syllable, so that's going to be audible. Ule Yaakov.
Ule Yaakov.
And so the same thing would happen over here too. Ulezar am. Very good. And let me read through one. Oh, and this other thing over here. Stress is always on either the last or second to last syllable. So it has to be on the kaf or on the tav. There's no symbol on the tav. It's this one. That right there. It could be secondary stress. I'm not 100% sure. La'avotechem. I would just say la'avotechem. Yeah, I guess it is secondary stress. La'avotechem. All right, let me read through one time. Re'eh natati lifnechem et haaretz bo'u urshu et haaretz asher nishba Adonai la'avotechem la'Avraham leYitzchak uleYaakov latet lahem ulezar'am achareihem. We already saw that this root is bet vav aleph. What's the root of that word? Urashu.
Rosh. Oh, I don't.
Rosh would have an aleph in it.
Yud Resh Shin.
Good. So now we see yod at the beginning is another category of roots. The yod can sometimes go missing like it does here. What is yarash?
To inherit.
To inherit. Excellent. Here we've got a missing root letter, but that one's a little bit easier. What is re'eh?
See.
See. Resh, aleph, not hey, but yod. So yod at the end. We talked about that earlier. Yods are always missing. Here's another one. Missing root letter. What letter's missing here?
Noon.
Noon. You're picking up on a pattern, right? Noon, yod, vav, yod, noon, vav, yod. Those are the three. So here the noon went missing inside of the tav. Instead of natanti, it becomes natati. I have put or set lifnechem, before your face, et haaretz, the land. Bol urshu, go and inherit. What form is this?
Yikto.
Okay, so
Wow.
it is a nifal. Is this a yiktol noon? No, I'm afraid not. And would this look like? Could this conceivably be a yiktol form in the Kal Binyan? Yeah, of course. Think about the word nishma. You know, it's pretty similar. Only difference is that letter right there, right? Nishma has two different possibilities. Either it's a nifal, that means it or he is or was heard. Well, I guess it would have to be katal, was heard. Or it could be a kal yiktol, where the noon is we will hear. So conceivably, this could be a yiktol form. The only problem is that shin bet ayin does not show up in the Kal Binyan in the Bible. So apparently this is a nifal 3ms. He made complete. Right? Shin bet ayin has to do with complete. He made complete. That is, he swore oath. The Lord did. La'avotechem. To your fathers. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. To give. There we got two missing noons. Latet, to give. Lahem. Ulezar'am. What's the root of ulezar'am?
Zera.
Zera.
That's right. Zera. Zera. Seed. Achareihem. All right. Questions? Comments? Answers? Next reader. Who wants to read? All right. Jesse?
Va'omar alechem ba'et hahi lemor lo uchal levadi set etchem.
Nice. Okay, so I see what we have here. Va'omar alechem ba'et hahi lemor lo uchal levadi se'et etchem. All right, are there any question marks here over words that you all know, and we can just skip past those?
Uchal. Uchal.
Uchal.
Is that he consumed, or I mean, is that supposed to be? Is that a matter?
Aleph Kaf Lamed Achal means he consumed. What's the root of this one?
Oh, I see what's going on. So is it
Exactly. So
a
what's the
yiktol?
aleph? It is. It's a
Yik-
yiktol. Usually in yiktol, we would expect either a chirik or a segol here, but we've got vav that's interfering. So good. It's an original vav that becomes a yud. So yachol would be the katal form. He was able. Here, your yod at the beginning turned in, your vav at the beginning turned into a yod. Here, where it's not at the beginning, it preserves as an original vav. Uchal, I will be able. Lo, not. All right, so good. It's not a chal, even though it looks suspiciously like it. All right, another question. Which one?
The last one.
The last one. What is this? We actually talked about it. What, on the previous slide? No, was it the previous slide or 2 slides ago where we saw
To hold,
ooh?
to hold or to
Exactly. Yeah, we were talking about how sa'u comes from the root nasa, which sounds similar to nasa, to lift or bear. And here the noon has gone missing. But the original tav of the infinitive has remained. Usually, whenever the infinitive has a missing root letter, that's when a tav is left in there to faux pas make it look like there are 3 roots. Have you all noticed that? Like nasa would be lasa'at. Bana, or I guess we had pei nun yod earlier. Leaf note. See the tav? That's the same tav as this one. What about to sit? Shevet. There's that tav again. So apparently infinitive constructs originally had a tav and they were omitted except where there was a missing root letter. And then the tav was preserved. So also here, set is from the verb or the infinitive form, laset, where the noon went missing, and there's your original infinitive tav. Why did I put a question mark on this word?
The vav.
Yeah, it's just a so-called misspelling of the word he about 50 times in the Torah. It's spelled with a vav. Nobody really can explain why. It just happens. And okay, so I already did this one. What's wrong with the first word? Va-o-mav.
There's no yod.
Okay, what's the yod for?
To tell us he.
Oh, very good. Yeah, if it were he, then there should be a yod. Alas, there is an aleph. So who's the built-in subject?
He.
Aleph. Yeah, aleph.
Or I.
Exactly. So what we're missing here is the first root letter of the word. It too is an aleph. So rather than writing aleph twice, they wrote one aleph for the yiktol and omitted the second one. This is the root amar, but the second one is gone. Not only did it quiesce, it went missing. Now, in other persons, like the yod 3ms yiktol, it would be, or vayiktol, it becomes vayomar or vayomer. And there we get to see, oops, no, that's a patach, that's a dagesh. There we go. The yod of the yiktol and the aleph of the root, albeit quiesced, quiet, not making any sound with no vowel attached to it. You can't make a glottal stop at the end of a at the end of a syllable, can you? Not really. All right, and what's going on with this right here? Livadi. What's the root?
Bad.
Bad. What's the dagesh for?
It's a strong
Doubling?
dagesh, so it's doubling it.
It is. The root is badad.
But that
Badad is to be alone. Boded. Oh, I'm feeling all boded. I'm all alone. Boded. Livadi means 2 or 4, my alone self. He's saying, I cannot do this alone to bear you all, etchem. Nice. It had a whole collection of oddities in it, didn't it? All right. Cheryl, did you want to read?
I think, Eileen, did you have your hand up to read or?
Yeah, I
Amanda?
did.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
But
she's
then I
first.
answered your question and my
Go
hand
ahead.
went down. Okay, let's go for it. Adonai Elohim Acher Ba At Gahem Vachenechem Chaiuem
Hayom.
Hayom Ha'arove
Kechol chave.
Kehol Have Ha Hashemesh
Hashamayim.
Hashemayim right. Hashemayim Le Ar
La Rov.
Oh La Ro
La Rov. Very good. Adonai Elohechem hirba etchem v'hinchem hayom ככוכבי השמיים לרוב. אדוני אלוהיכם הרבה. We saw this earlier, didn't we? We saw the word rav. Here it's in what binyan?
Hifo.
Causative.
He feel?
Yeah, he feel causative, causing to be abundant, that is, multiplying, making many. Etchem, you all. Vehinchem, what is hine?
Here I am.
Means looky here, right?
Look here.
Hen is here. Hine is hereward, like look over here. And then chem is you all. Now, look at you all, or behold you all, hayom, this day, kechochavei hashamayim. Kochav,
Star.
yeah. Kochav is a star, so we've got kechochavei, as or like the stars of
The sky.
hashamayim, the heaven, the sky, la rov. All right, now this is going to be a little, I don't know, this might be a little bit too hard. What's the root of this word, la rov?
Resh bet.
But there are supposed to be 3 letters.
This is one of those abnormal ones.
What's the root of this one up here?
Resh bet,
Why is there a hey on the end?
because it's directional.
No.
Consonantal
Directional hey will not be stressed, and it belongs on a noun. Neither is this unstressed, nor is it a noun. Here it is a vestige of the last syllable that used to include a yod, but yod is not gracing us with its presence. This is a lamed yod verb. It is resh bet yod.
Is it a consonantal?
No. It's got a kamatz hey. That's a vowel. So here's the thing.
Okay.
The way it should have been, I suppose, is he'll bia or something like that. No, he'll be, hang on a second. He'll bia. I guess it would have been he'll bia or something like that. Well, apparently this was too much. So the whole thing was shifted in analogy to the Kal Binyan, think of words like bana, which were originally banai. Apparently, it was too hard to say banai, so it was simply changed into bana. Much like in America, we can either call this the sky or the ska. Sounds an awful lot like ska.
So does this apply to La Rove as well?
Okay, so what I'm saying is that just as the kal verb banai turned into bana, so also hirbi turned into hirba. This is a 3ms he feel verb, causing to be abundant. It's masculine. The Lord's the one that did it. So he's 3ms, so is the verb. So what's the root of this down here? Well, it seems to be the same, but ladies and gentlemen, I believe this one is resh vav bet. If it were resh bet yod, then that means the yod went missing. But I really, really wonder if this is resh vav bet. The reason I think so is because of this holam right here. The word rov, do you suppose it's a verb, a noun, an adjective? What part of speech is rov?
It's about
The thing itself,
the
tato,
participle.
no, I don't
Is
know.
that participle?
Well, I mean, it comes after a preposition. What comes after prepositions?
Infinitives.
Nouns.
Nouns.
Now.
Nouns
Yeah.
do. Rov is a noun.
Uh,
When do nouns have an O sound in them? When they're an O flavored seglet, like kodesh, right? So what if the root were resh vav bet? That means we would have expected rov like this, like kodesh was originally something like koj or kuj with dagesh, with shvaz right there. Koj turns into kodesh, but here rov would have turned into rov. I'm wondering if that was a seglet with a hollow root. So this brings up a really interesting connection, I guess I can call it, between roots that have the same letters or roughly the same letters, but in different orders. Okay. This is like a classic example. Resh Vav Bet versus Resh Bet Yod, which might have even originally been a Vav. Who knows? Trying to think of another example. Can anyone think of one? Of course. Kala, which is either kaf lamed lamed or kaf lamed yod, like klal or lechalot. Even chul and halal. That might even be related to choli, sick. I don't know. It's hard to know. So when you see these roots that look very, very similar, it makes you wonder if they're related. Oh, what was the other one? No. Oh yeah, Nuf. What was it? Nuf and Nofef. Nuf and Nofef. No, it was a different one. It was to dive. What's the word for diving? Tzlul. That's what it was. So tzadi lamed lamed and tzadi vav lamed, they have pretty much the same meaning. So there are tons of examples of these verbs that look very similar and in fact have similar meanings. I can't help but wonder if one derived from the other some point early on in Hebrew's history. So keep an eye out for those kinds of patterns, anomalies. All right, next up, Cheryl, your turn to read. Mic on.
Here we go. Adonai Elohei Avotechem, Yosef, Aleichem, Kachem, Elef, Pe'amim, Uyevarech Etchem, Ka'asher Diber Lechem.
Excellent. Perfect reading. Adonai Elohei Avotechem Yosef Alechem Kachem Elef Pe'amim Vivarech Etchem Ka'asher Diber Lachem. Chem. What does chem mean?
You plural, second
You all,
plural.
exactly. Yeah, you
Your
all.
plural?
Absolutely. So we get to see it showing up a lot. Moses is speaking to you all, the children of Israel. What
Masculine
is-
plural?
Yes, masculine plural. What is the root of Yosef?
Asaph,
Asaf?
And so,
I wonder if we have another example here of similar looking roots. So Asaph is to gather in the Kal Binyan, but here we get an O sound. What does that tell us? Like that verb earlier, ho'il. What does the O tell? I mean, the O sound tell us? Original Vav later turns into Yod.
yes,
Yasaf, exactly. So are these related, similar? Yeah, possibly, sure. Oh, that lends to another example. How about Echad versus Yachid? Okay, so more similar roots. Yosef, however, is going to be the he feel. Remember, hey with a vav makes the O sound. And then you add your yod, yiktol, it becomes yo. And then your chirik yod shortens here. Why? Why would it shorten to a tzere? There's something about verbs that like to lose their mater lectionis vowel and apocoupate, become shorter. This is probably a volative, that is a adjussive verb that tells us what the desire of the speaker is. May he, the Lord, make more, add, right? Lehosif means to add, to do again. So may he make more, alechem, upon you all, kachem, as you all are, I guess, elef pe'amim, 1,000 steps or times. Hey, there's that vivarech we were talking about earlier with the kamatz because of the missing dagesh. Vivarech and wait, is that a vayiktol?
no, because it would be
Kiddush.
it would be a putach.
Right. It would have patach and dagesh. Maybe not a dagesh, but possibly. Vaivarech, and he blessed. No. This is vivarech. So that's just a conjunctive and. So why does it get a chirik under it instead of a shva? Shouldn't it be the varech? No, we can't have two shvas in a row at the beginning of a at the beginning of a word. So Hebrew fixes the double shva at the beginning of the word by turning the first one into a full vowel. Here, because of the yod, it chooses chirik, and once you have a chirik, now the shva is no longer needed. Chirik yod is already a vowel. Vivarech etchem, and bless you, or and may he bless you. Ha'asher diber lachem, just as he spoke, or promised, he spoke to you. Good. Comments or questions? Hope you all enjoyed. If you would like to support Hungry for Hebrew, here it is. We're out of time. Look forward to seeing you all next week, right? It's not going to be a break next week, is it? Oh, there is. Oh, Rosh Hashanah. Next week is
Rosh
Rosh
Hashanah.
Hashanah.
Happy
Yom
New Year.
Kippur. So
Lashana Tova.
first day of the seventh month, or first day of the first month in the civil year. And so have some apples and honey or whatever it is you do to celebrate the new year, or the day of trumpets, Yom Teruah. Look forward to seeing you all, though, 2 weeks later, right? Or is that Yom Kippur?
I was going to say, when is the Feast of Trumpets? Do you know?
The Feast of Trumpets, I thought, is Thursday night into Friday. If somebody wants to correct me, they're welcome to. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which puts Yom Kippur on Shabbat. Does that sound right?
12th. Yeah, the 12th.
Okay. All right. So that means it must be Thursday night to Friday night.
Okay. Thank
There.
you, Jared.
Absolutely. So I'll see you all in 2 weeks, just before Yom Kippur. Have a wonderful Rosh Hashanah.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Shalom.